Welcome back. Now, a second dose of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine prevents 82% of COVID-19 hospitalizations. This is according to the latest Sisonke vaccine efficacy study. It's just been published in the New York, England Journal of Medicine. Let's discuss its findings with Sisonke co-lead, Professor Linda-Gail Bekker. Thank you very much, Prof, for your time here on All Angles. Now, firstly, this is good news, right? Especially because around this time last year when we were discussing vaccines, Johnson & Johnson was found to have a weaker efficacy compared to other vaccines that landed in South Africa. But you found that it becomes more positive. It becomes a more positive result if you get a second jab. Can you just explain this further?
Yeah, so, when Johnson & Johnson first started the development of their Ad26 vaccine, I think there was a place for saying, can we get away with a single dose? We know that it often is difficult to get people in for the second dose. We knew that we had an emergency on our hands. We wanted to get as much vaccine to as many people as possible. And so I think there definitely is a place for a single dose vaccine. But when compared head to head, it would appear that, the Pfizer 2-dose or any of the mRNA 2-dose was performing a little bit better than that single dose of Ad26 or J&J. So I think with Sisonke 2, the boost of the healthcare workers who participated in Sisonke, we were able to look at the vaccine effectiveness of 2 doses of J&J compared with 2 doses of Pfizer at the time of the new Omicron variant. And this paper and that study shows that actually when you compare the 2 doses of the one vaccine with the 2 doses of the other, they are very comparable.
All right, so this is positive news then for South Africa, am I correct, in terms of the Omicron variant, which seems to be the dominant variant at the moment in our country. So, having both Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson on our shores, this is then a positive result.
It certainly is. It does, though, maybe suggest to the population that whilst they've got the opportunity to go out and get that second dose of J&J, it's worthwhile doing so. And whilst they're about it, to just think about being boosted generally before Omicron. We know that we do have a lineage variant on the go at the moment known as BA4 and BA5. And so we do want to encourage people just to top up their immunity and make sure they've got that booster on board.
It's also a positive for our scientists in South Africa, isn't it, in terms of the fact that we play a huge role in the manufacturing of Johnson & Johnson?
That's right. So, we're filling and finishing the Ad26 and really wanting to supply this around Africa in particular. Again, it's important to know that these vaccines, and in particular, the 2 vaccines we have in this country are holding their own, even against these new variants. And I hope that really instills confidence in people that it is very worthwhile still to go out and get vaccinated, make sure you're protected. Even if you've had infection before, we've got good data now to show that if you've had infection and vaccination, you are in fact multiply protected, much better protected than somebody who just gets vaccine or just gets infected. So really worthwhile to think about doing that.
Tell me your thoughts, Prof, when it comes to mixing vaccines. So, for instance, I got my 2 doses of Pfizer last year. I'm almost up for the booster. Can I go for Johnson & Johnson?
Yes, you may. So South Africa now, since the 14th of March, allows what we call mix and match or heterologous boosting. That means where you get a different vaccine compared to your primary series, whether it was a single dose of J&J or 2 doses of Pfizer, you can now do vice versa in terms of your boosting. And there are definitely, recommendations that this may be a good way to go, because each vaccine being due to using a different platform, actually induces slightly different aspects of the immune system. So you get a broader kind of push to your immune system, which we think probably in the long run is a good way to go. Obviously, if you knew you got the vaccine, the mRNA, and you had very few side effects, there is some reassurance to just stick with what you've had before. But there is, as I say, some immunological reasons why you may want to mix and match.
And there haven't been people who get sick because of mixing and matching?
Not that we have known. They appear to be very safe. Recently, a big study published in The Lancet called ComBoost, people can go and look that up online, where both a viral vector like J&J and an mRNA vaccine such as Pfizer underwent multiple kinds of boosting, and across the board this was seen to be safe and is now published. And I think increasingly we're seeing people in this country go for heterologous boosting without any bad effects. So I think, this is definitely one way to go. I would say if you go to be boosted, whatever is offered to you there is well worth going for.
All right. And in terms of the vaccines that we find are expiring and government has to either take back where they bought it or throw it away, your concern around that?
Devastated. The only good vaccine is one that is in a South African's arm. And so, we really do want to encourage people, if they have not yet received vaccination or indeed have not gone for their boosting, that they should really get to their vaccine centres as soon as possible. There is no reason not to be vaccinated, and indeed a great deal of good reason to go and get yourself vaccinated. So we definitely don't want to throw vaccinations away.
Do you think government has been doing enough in its vaccination drive to convince people to get vaccinated?
I think this is it's a tough one. It's a tough nut to crack. I think we didn't expect to see quite so much pushback as we've seen during the COVID era. I think we just have to continue to do what we can to build confidence, to make it easy for people to be vaccinated, and to remind people that they should not be complacent. I think we can be reassured that these vaccines are holding out in the face of the variants, and there is good value to do this. So we just have to keep encouraging people, and each individual who has been vaccinated or has been boosted needs to become an ambassador for that campaign.
Prof, I want to be honest with you. With some of my friends that we just sit with during a braai or whatever, and we start the topic about getting the booster. All of us are vaccinated, fully vaccinated, but when we talk about getting the booster, a lot of them talk about how sick they became either after the first or second dose, and that's what's making them too scared to go for the booster. What would you say to people who feel...
I can see why, particularly if now you feel that maybe there's less pressure to get the boost. But on the other hand, when we look at populations, we're not seeing more reactogenicity with the booster dose. Okay. So that's across the board. I know your friends are individuals and they're worried for themselves, but I think we can reassure that on a population basis, we're not seeing issues of safety or less tolerability. And definitely there is, evidence that immunity is improved, and it just means that you've got that edge when it comes to the possibility of having more severe COVID. We know COVID is still moving through the South African population at the moment. I'm sure all of those friends also know somebody who is going down with Omicron at the moment. Just get yourself into the best possible position to face potential transmission. Get boosted. That's my advice.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof, for your time here on All Angles. That is Professor Linda-Gail Bekker. She's the senior author at the Sisonke co-lead as well.